he used to tell this story. He'd say, you know, it was so slick, I used to have to walk to school. You know, the old thing about walking to school, up hills both ways, you know, that whole thing. So we were like, yeah, just listening to him talk, you know. And he said, well, no, it's the truth. He said it was so slick on the way to school, every time I noticed, every time I took a step forward, I'd go 2 backwards. So we were kind of perplexed, and we just stopped there. And we asked him, well, how'd you get to school then? You know, that don't make no sense. You take a step forward, and you go 2 steps backwards, so you ain't getting nowhere. You're getting closer to home, you ain't getting close to school, you know. And he goes, well, I thought about it for a while, and I finally figured out the only thing to do is to turn around and head for home. So he got to school all right. Here's a song I learned just recently, and so if I forget the words, it kind of helped me along a little bit. How many heard of Little Joe the Wrangler? A few of you. Little Joe the Wrangler will wrangle nevermore. His days with the roundup they are o'er. Was a year ago last April when he rode into our camp. Just a little Texas stray and nothing more. Was late in the evening when he rode into our camp on a little Texas pony he called Chaw. With his broken shoes and overalls, a tougher looking kid you never in your life before had saw. His saddle was a Texas cack built many years ago, with an OK spur on one foot lightly hung. With his bedroll in a cotton sack so loosely tied behind, and a canteen across his saddle horn was slung. He said he had to leave his home, his pa had married twice. His new ma whipped him every day or two. So he saddled up old Chaw one night and lit us up this way. He said he'd try to paddle his own canoe. He said if we could give him work, he'd do the best he could, though he didn't know straight up about a cow. So the boss, he cut him out a mount and kindly put him on. He sorta liked this little kid somehow. He learned to wrangle horses, and he learned to know them all, and to get them in at daybreak if he could, and to trail the old chuck wagon and always hitch the team, and to help the cook each evening rustle wood. They had barely reached the Pecos, the weather it was fine. They were camped down on the south side in a draw, when a northern commenced blowing, so they doubled up their guards. It took every one of them to hold them in. Little Joe the Wrangler was called out with the rest. Scarcely had the little fellow reached the herd, when the cattle they stampeded like a hailstorm on they fled, and everyone was riding for the lead. Amid the streaks of lightning we could see one up ahead. He was trying to catch the leaders in their speed. It was Little Joe the Wrangler with the slicker over his head. He was trying to check the leaders in their speed. At last we got them milling and kinda quieted down, and the extra guards back to their wagon went. But there was one missing, we could see it at a glance, was our little Texas stray, poor Wrangler Joe. Next morning, just at daybreak, we found where Rocket fell, down in a washout 20 feet below. Beneath his horse, his life was gone, his spur had rung its knell, was our little Texas stray, poor Wrangler Joe.